Okay, it is 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the committee of the whole meeting to order for Tuesday, October 9th. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Risotto?
Here.
Atak? Chanzit?
Here.
Salvati?
Here.
Wolf?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
O'Brien absent. Callahan absent. Meitzler?
Here.
Malay? Ewer?
Here.
Cerrone?
Here.
And McFadden?
Here.
Okay, very good. We've got a quorum so we can conduct tonight's meeting. Let me remind everybody to please pull the mic within 6 to 8 inches of you so everybody that's watching on BATV can hear us. Next item is item 2, which is the approval of the minutes for October 2nd, 2018. Does anybody have any comments or questions on those minutes? Hearing none, can we get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Salvati, second by Ewer to recommend the City Council approval of the October 2nd, 2018 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 3, items to be removed, added, or changed. I don't know of any. Okay. Anybody else? Item 4, matters from the public for items that are not on the agenda. And we have an empty room. So we'll move on to item number 5, which is the consent agenda. And we have one item on there, and that is the July and August 2018 city financial reports from Peggy Colby. Anybody have any questions on that? Comments? Nope.
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
I would note on the sales taxes that our sales taxes have remained strong this year. So while we were trying to keep a close look on that to see what the impact would be from the Sam's Club closure, actually those numbers have remained pretty steady and strong this year.
So it's not obvious yet what the impact is.
No.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Can we get a motion to recommend the City Council the July and August 2018 city financial report?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Salvati, second by Meitzler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 6, Resolution 18-114-R, authorizing the purchase of one police department unmarked administrative vehicle for the price of $28,249. Alderman Wolf.
Thank you. Tonight, this is an authorization to purchase one Explorer for the unmarked administrative vehicle. So this won't be a stealth vehicle? This will just
No, this will just be for our administrative fleet.
Okay. And is it the standard one?
The base model with a few additions.
Okay.
First and foremost being the 4x4 edition.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically the same thing as the Interceptor, or is it?
Actually, it's not. They're a little bit different. It's basically like you're off the lot Ford Explorer with a 4x4 package.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, Chief, on this pretty simple one?
Just a comment. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just a comment. Great to see this is coming in almost $1,000 underneath the total line budget.
And because we waited, it was a little bit more from the Suburban Purchasing Cooperative bid price for 2018, but we're ended up with a 2019. They stopped the sales for 2018, so for $350 more, we're getting a 2019 base.
Okay. Anybody like to recommend to council resolution 18-114R?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Jansen, second by Meitzler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief.
Item number 7, Resolution 18-115R, authorizing support of participation in the Safe Routes to School grant program. Alderman Wolf.
Thank you. We have participated in this in the past. This is the grant application that has to be in November of 2018, by November 21st. I'll let Rahat explain the rest of it.
So, as Alderman pointed out, the application has to be in with IDOT by November 21st, 2018. We have coordinated with school district to select where the needs are for the sidewalk gap. So those are the locations that between school district and the city, we came up that those are the more needed sidewalk from the standpoint of walk to school or bus pickup. So we are proposing that we apply for all these 4 locations, and the memo said that we are eligible to get up to $200,000 for the entire project. We do not need to participate if the project is within $200,000. Now, I want to point out that if you total up the cost estimate for these 4 locations, it comes out to be more than $200,000. We talked to school district in a pretty preliminary fashion that if we end up in getting all the projects, then we may have to partner up and come up with the extra money. And again, this is a cost estimate. This is a very high-level cost estimate until we do the design. We will not know, and also when we bid the project, we will not know how much will be the cost participation from our end if we do get up all the projects. So we are recommending that we submit application for all these 4 locations and see whether we get successful for one or all 4. And this will be good sidewalk gap fill-up projects for us altogether.
And just for everybody that has one of these in their ward, look at it, go out and look at where it's at, because I'm sure if we get the funding for this, there's going to be a lot of discussion by the residents that are there that have never had a sidewalk in front of their house, that don't want a sidewalk in front of their house. This is going to be interesting when we get to that point.
Yeah,
Dave?
I was going to jump on that before you even brought it up, but Rahad, can you explain the process of this? Because if you apply for this grant and then the people that live in those areas are very opposed to it, I mean, have they had any knowledge of this yet? We're planning on putting a sidewalk at this point in front of their home that there's been no recognition of yet.
There is at least one location that is on this list that we know that has severe opposition last time when we were looking at putting in sidewalk. We are hoping that the demographic has changed a little bit, and then we'll also will be seeking council's support a little bit, because it's an area, or all these areas have been identified from school district and then from the city that they require sidewalk.
The area that Rahat was referring to is like 15.
Use the mic, Gary. Okay.
The area.
Can't hear you.
The area that Rahat. Perfect. The area that Rahat was referring to was like 15 years ago. So, and as we all know, the homes in Batavia have, the older homes have turned over to younger families. It's an area where there's a lot of drop-off of children that literally then have to walk in the street. So it would be an area that would be ideal to have a sidewalk so that kids could get dropped off by their parents and not have to walk in the street. If we get money and we get free money and the residents don't want it, then city council can make the decision to turn the money back. We're not out anything.
Okay, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't agree with putting them there.
Yeah.
But we know from history
Yes.
what kind of activity this is going to bring to this room.
Right.
And then if we were to do this, I'm sorry, sure.
Just one more point, and that goes to the council's strategic objectives: pedestrian access and walkability. I mean, that's council has identified that as a goal. So they may have, people here who don't want sidewalks, and then ultimately it's a policy decision by city council to say, you may not live in that house for the next 40 years, but the people who come in behind you may want a sidewalk.
Yeah. And I can tell you too, just from experience of being here all these years, there's been times that we've done it and the neighbors maybe didn't like it, but we went ahead and did it anyway because of what you just said. And then after it's all done, they're very happy with it.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to say was I think that, that kind of falls on our shoulders as aldermen to go out and talk to the neighbors that are in these areas. I see it constantly now. There's a new place on Facebook to complain about things in Batavia, and there's already been a few things where it's popped up where people want people to slow down around the drop-offs for the schools or the areas that don't have sidewalks where kids are walking in the street. Got an email a week ago about how nice Morton Street turned out, but when are they going to do anything at the other end of it where there aren't sidewalks down there? Because kids walk down those streets for school instead of being on a sidewalk. So I think it is important that even leading up to this, that we start talking about this within our neighborhoods, where these are at, so that people get used to the idea that it's possibly coming if we can get funding for it. Especially good if we don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that we have to really stress to them, is that this is a good thing for the community.
When the application goes in, when would we find out whether or not we've been awarded?
I believe in spring of 2019. They are going to make a decision, and then we'll have 6 months to complete the design, and 2 years from the time they award the, like spring of 2019, you have 2 years to complete the project.
Now, if we weren't able to get those to go in those areas, would we be able to use them in other areas that are identified as safe roads?
Typically, they
No,
don't
just-
allow.
Just whatever is submitted, okay. Elliot?
So, I mean, especially for the third ward, I'm definitely in huge support of, some of the locations here that are identified. Republic Road in particular, I know is one that's a constant complaint. Just curious, though, I mean, obviously, we're saying, yes, if we get this grant, that's wonderful to be able to pay for the initial install. But I'm assuming all of this sidewalk then has to go into the sidewalk repair program as well. And that does mean we would be paying a bit more into that fund. Have we identified, if we were to receive all four, just how much of an addition that would be to the budget?
You mean the maintenance part of
Correct.
it? Typically, these sidewalks, if they are done right, you will not need any maintenance within first 15 to 20 years. After that, you may need to, but there will be some, maintenance might be needed. 1 or 2 square here and there replacement. That's $200 to $400 a square piece typically.
Just want to get that out there, so.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Someone care to make a motion on Resolution 18-115-R?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Meitzler, second by Rosado. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Alan,
Yep.
the other items before this, we could probably put on a consent agenda, but should you go ahead and talk
I
about
would like to
this one?
talk about this one, so that way we get this out there now, so people can find out about it. I don't want us
Okay,
being yelled at in April saying we never talked about it.
right. All right, item number 8, Resolution 18-116-R, authorizing task order number 9 for Power Systems Engineering Incorporated for designing distribution substation rebuild at the Paramount Substation for an amount not to exceed $386,000. Alderman Chanzik, you're going to present this tonight?
Rod, since you're up there, go ahead and take that for us.
Sure.
Thank you.
You have seen that the first phase of Paramount Substation has gone through the City Council. We have started construction at the Northeast Substation right now, but we have figured out through that process that some of the items take a long time to come when we bid it out and to deliver to the city. So we thought about getting a jump start on this project right now, design it and start bidding it like early January, February, so that the breakers and other things can be awarded to those contractors or the manufacturers so that they can make those in 6 to 8 months. Sometimes those are like even a year-long wait time. So we wanna jumpstart on that design process. That's why we are bringing it in front of you. The PSC has done the first phase of this project, so we thought there is a real harmony of going to PSC only because they know the existing site. They have collected all the data, so it makes sense that PSC does that. They have been doing all other feeder design. They have been doing some more studies. So they are doing quite a bit of things in the system that it makes sense to give it to them and not open it up for other consultants to bid on it. So they are not only gonna design the substation, they are also gonna oversee the bidding process, make sure that the contractors that are bidding on it are qualified. They're submitting proposals that meets our specification, and also they are gonna help us through the construction process also. So it includes all that parts in this proposal. So we are just recommending committee to approve this resolution.
I just want to point out from the memo that the big impact is going to be on our large commercial customers, improving reliability and whatnot. And the soonest we would see the work completed is peak 2020.
20, right.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I would, yeah.
One question. Do we have to wait formal bidding to do this, on this?
So the Consultants projects, you don't have to waive bidding, but contracting work, you need to waive bidding. That's my understanding. Those are gonna be formally bid. I mean, breakers and all other construction work, they will be competitively bid.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'd make a motion then that we approve Resolution 18-116R, authorizing task order number 9 with PSE for designing distribution substation rebuild at the Paramount substation for an amount not to exceed $386,000.
Okay, quick question. In the resolution, it says 385,000, and in the memo, it says 386.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I'll make that change and post it.
386?
386.
Dan, I do have one question before we vote on it, if you don't mind. I see, going through the scope here, I guess my question is how often, if they're going to go through this whole process with the bidding and the selections and all this kind of stuff and the design, how often are they going to be out there to do inspections? And in the paragraph in here, under the scope of work for the deliverables, it says that they'll do a construction inspection at 25% progress, and then a final construction inspection. Is there other inspections they're going to be doing that they're not spelling out during this time? Because that seems like a big gap.
No, so they are always available over the phone if the contractor has any questions. So I'm just going through that process right now, and it's kind of a little bit different than how civil engineering construction takes place. They do have a pretty good pre-construction meeting where they discuss all this, and then contractor will submit all sorts of design work to them. They approve all that, and if you see in the contract, there is 1,800 hours is estimated. So that includes coming and looking at the construction. They are saying that it's 25% and final, but as we go through the project and they have hours available, they will definitely come more often. Bob and I, we were just talking about it, the current construction that's going on, they're gonna come every 3 weeks and look at it. When they are doing the foundation work or the rebar work, when they get the rebar work done, before they pour the foundation, they will come and look at it. And also city staffs are gonna be looking at it. So we'll be in constant communication. Not necessarily that they always have to come, but we can also inspect things for PSC. We are the people who will supplement that inspection when they are not here.
When
Yeah, I
Cherry
guess-
Park, I'm sorry, when Cherry Park was under construction, we had a full-time lineman out there overseeing the contractor.
You had a full-time lineman out there?
Yeah,
Okay.
our own lineman.
Okay. That's my concern. There's an awful lot going on there with a very high level amount of things that I certainly don't know anything about. I would think it takes somebody with some expertise to oversee that, so.
Yeah, that's where we always put a line, on the big projects, there's always a lineman that's the inspector.
Okay.
Motion on the floor, second, anyone?
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we want to talk about it or on the consent?
It probably would be a good idea. It's a large amount of money, and we're doing it to make sure that we've got reliable energy, so. Okay, so we'll talk about it. All right. Thanks, Rahan.
Thank you.
All right, item number 9, project status. Laura?
So just a few things to make you aware of in Community and Economic Development, Public Works, and Communications. In Community and Economic Development, we've issued permits for the East Side Community Center improvements. We've issued a permit for the new building at 1100 North Redant Road. And the Siemens property has been completed. They will place this on their standard mowing schedule for next season. Drew Rackow and Scott Buning were at the Illinois American Planning Association meeting in Springfield last week for training. Code enforcement attended a circuit court hearing for various code enforcement items. Plan Commission met on October 3rd, and they reviewed and recommended for approval a conditional use for a medical office at 815 North Randall Road and a plat of subdivision for a lot at 1100 North Redant Road. Staff has spent a significant amount of time reviewing the Windmill Landings project on Fabian Parkway and Hawks Drive, and efforts have been made to put all final documentation and last-minute revisions together. They've also been working with ownership on an emergency access easement to the adjoining property to the west as well. And HPC approved a revised certificate of approval for a CAE facility sign at 12 West Wilson Street. In Public Works, pavement patching at Wilson College draining project is underway. Punch list work at the Ward 1 and Area 3 sewer projects. And also power pole relocation is beginning on Main Street. And I'd like to recognize Gary Holm. He provided supervision of the IPW man response to the communities of Huntley, Lake in the Hills, Algonquin, and Cary for the recent storm damage that they sustained. For those who don't know, that's the Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Network, and it's a very strong organization in Illinois. There have been numerous instances when IPW man has coordinated other area communities to provide assistance to those in need, and Gary has served before as a supervisor and coordinated those efforts too, so thank you, Gary. In communications, just to let you know, since we have had the communication coordinator on board, our social media has really grown a lot since then. We have a goal of reaching 4,000 total users by year end, where we only had 2,400 when we first created the position. And on Twitter, we're up to over 4,000 followers at this time. We also are building our engagement platform on LinkedIn as well, and the goal will be placing consistent new shared like case studies that other people can link to that highlight some of the businesses in our community. So that's it, unless, do you have any questions for me about current projects?
Any questions? Okay, thanks, Laura.
Sure.
Next item is item 10, others. Do we have any others? Mark?
I'll ask Alan for some advice on this too. I just heard that it's possible that there's a recurring issue or a known issue with BATV and AT&T Uverse with audio. It was just brought to my attention just before the meeting.
The thing that I know from past history is AT&T has an issue because they take the signal from us, it goes to Texas, and then it's rebroadcast from there. And certain areas in town have historically had problems with the sound, and yet we can check it at the high school, at our feed, at our end, is exactly where they want it to be. We're within the parameters they give us on their equipment to send a signal to them, but what they send out to the public is not the same.
So I guess then the thing I would like to pursue is possibly talking to them because of the franchise agreement.
Right. It spells out that we have to have that rectified, and what we'll do is, I believe we can contact a local rep, and then they'll, of course, check into it, find out what it is. They'll go to the head end down in Texas, figure out if they can boost the signal or whatever they have to do to it to get it back to where it's normal.
Okay, so somebody with me to direct staff to reach out to AT&T?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, we will.
Gary?
And I should have a report at the next council meeting or next COW meeting about that.
Okay.
Good. Gary?
I was contacted by no less than about a half dozen people today concerning recent power outages. So just this evening, I reached out to Brian. I tried to get him at the end of the day, but he and I just didn't cross paths. To have Brian prepare a report or summary to send to City Council. So if you guys get inquiries regarding recent power outages, give me a few days and I'll get a report out to tell you what's going on.
Okay, good, thank you. Anyone else? Laura, I just want to make a comment. With Windmill Landings coming up, I'd like to drive around and check things out. So I drove out on Hawks Drive the other day, and I don't know, how long's it been since Walmart was put there? 10, 12 years ago?
Excuse me, about that, I think, yeah.
So for about 10 or 12 years, we've been in continual conversation with Walmart about the lack of maintenance of the landscaping along Hawks Drive. And they always, they do respond and they do a little bit, but then they have a hard time following through. But Joel, with our community development department, has been working hand in hand with Walmart this summer to get that and other items rectified. And I can say it looks better now than it did when it was first put in.
Wow.
They've replaced everything that they said they were going to replace. They've cleaned everything up real nice. And I feel very confident that with Joel working with them, that they're going to stick with it. So if you
Great.
could pass that on to Joel and Scott, I'd appreciate it.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I would tell you that there's a newer manager now out at Walmart that seems to be very well engaged. And he seems to be very inquisitive as to what I'm hearing and what people are reacting to in the store. So I think that's all playing, our role, and then his enthusiasm, I think, is helping to drive, a new thing there.
It is all about the manager, isn't it, on these stores?
And, I've talked to him already a couple times about, with the new senior facility that's yet to be built right behind the Walmart store, that, we're going to probably have some pressure to have a sidewalk there on the north side of the street. And, I know he's explored it, and I think we have here too. There's our old friend George Haynes is still in ownership of the piece immediately behind the Walmart store. So I've been waiting for the proper moment to give my old friend George a call and just recall old days and suggest that, when it comes time for him to bring somebody in to buy that, we're going to be wanting that sidewalk put in.
Okay, anybody else? No? Okay, we do have executive session for the purpose of sale of electricity, so I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by McFadden, second by Salvati. All in favor?
Aye.
And there will not be any action coming out of the executive session.